Hi, we are at the oil process of the clean and oil on the saddle. Here are our parts. You saw these parts yesterday being washed. They've sat overnight. They're nice and dry, ready to go. We're using 100% neat's foot oil. There's a lot of products out there, and I'm not saying that those products aren't good. I don't really know anything about them. Most everything that I use is very simple. And so yesterday was the saddle soap, and today is the neat's foot oil. As you can see, it says 100% pure. This is a little bit more expensive than the compound, but try to stay away from the compound, because what that'll do over time is it's going to rot the stitches. And so when you have rotten stitches and this stuff is falling apart, you're going to end up with a safety hazard. So the best thing to do is to buy this in small quantities. It, as I said, might be a little bit more expensive in a smaller quantity. I think that it's affordable. And when this runs out, just get another little container. When you get a big container and it's stored, maybe not in the refrigerator, it will go rancid. And so not a good idea to be using rancid oil. Neat's foot oil is a byproduct of cattle. So basically what this is just the oil of cows going back in to a cow. So that's why it's so important to use this. It's good stuff. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the back cinch. This little piece here is a piece of sheepskin. You can see the leather on the back, and it's the fleece on the front. If you don't have access to this or you can't find it, not a problem. You can use a household sponge. I like to use this. It just is, it's nice because it's flexible. And you just take that oil and you go in small little places. You don't want to do a whole lot. You want to go in circles, because you see how I keep moving down so that I don't get any weird marks. And honestly, it really doesn't matter. If you're getting the oil on there, that's the most important. It's gonna look fantastic when it soaks in. So you can see how I'm going in a circular motion and getting all of this area. Get that one, I missed that spot. Try not to use too much at a time, just a little bit. You can see how that moves. And we're gonna just do this all the way down. All your parts. If you get it on the buckle, don't worry. You can just wipe it off with a towel later. It's not going to hurt your buckles. It's not going to hurt anything. Just might make them a little greasy. That's all. Not a problem. Flip it over, and then you're going to do the back side. Now this back side is rough out. So it's going to be probably soaking this oil up a lot quicker than the front part. So there again, you get an idea of how this moves all the way down. Now on these underneath sides, don't feel like you don't want to put another coat on. You can certainly put another coat on. Let it soak in. On the front side, you might want to just go with one coat for now, but on the back side, that's pretty dry, and so don't hesitate to throw another coat on that when it gets a little bit drier. So here's our hobbles. So these is super simple, because all you do is just do something like that, and this is soaking up all of this really fast. So you kind of get the idea. So just keep doing your parts like this all the way down. And there's the front side. You can see that pretty basket weave all the way down. Okay. Hi, look, it's all nice and clean. This is what it looks like after it's been cleaned. It's had time to dry. You can see that it's needing some oil. You can see down here where it looks dry. So we're gonna fix that. So what I have already done is I've taken time to oil this side. So you're gonna see the difference. I oiled this whole side and I put everything back and I oiled the seat. So you can see the difference in how it looks as compared to this side. So I'm going to show you how to get it to this condition this morning. We're going to work on this side and we're going to get this nice and oiled. So we talked about using either a little piece of sheepskin or a sponge. So this sheepskin I got from the guy that works on my saddles, the saddle maker that works on my saddles. If you've got a saddle maker close by and you do business with them, they'll throw this to you because there's really not much they can do with it. Outside of that, I don't know where you can get it. Maybe shoe repair, I don't know. But don't fret over it. If you can't get it, just use a sponge. So what I usually do is I'll just trim this down a little bit because this might be a little too much. You're gonna get a lot of product on there. You're gonna get too much oil, in my opinion. So what I do is I trim it down so that the pile isn't as high. So this little piece I've used quite a bit and it's beginning to wear out. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this. Now I have used this little piece with oil as well. And so we're gonna put some saddle soap on that. All we're gonna use on this stirrup leather is saddle soap. The reason for that is this stirrup leather goes through the tree. It goes in and then it goes behind the tree and then it comes back out. So it has to move freely. And I think y'all have probably had it where you've been trying to adjust your stirrups and you can't pull that thing out. You don't want to use oil because it's going to just make it sticky, sticky, sticky. So just put some soap on there. Just put some saddle soap on there. Get it up underneath, pull it out so that you're getting all the parts, and then pull it back in. And you can kind of see already that it's moving freer than it did when I started. And then go all the way down with it. And it's going to make it a lot nicer when you go to adjust your stirrups. So that part, use soap only. Anything that looks like Latigo, as we talked about before, on this Latigo, I'm not going to wash it. It's brand new, so there's no reason for me to wash it. Latigo leather is tanned differently. It's tanned differently so that it's nice and soft. So using oil on Latigo is just going to make it like a gooey mess. So your saddle strings are normally made out of Latigo. So take your saddle strings and use use soap on your saddle strings. Just take your saddle strings and come down with it like this. On this horn wrap, this horn wrap is obvious that it's Latigo. You can tell the difference. It's a lot thinner. It's more of a maroon color, like kind of a purpley color. So you want to use the soap on anything that's Latigo. Okay, so what we're going to do then is we're going to get started on this fender. Again, we're using 100% neat's foot oil. And I'm going to show you how to oil. I'm going to tell you what to do first, and then I'm going to tell you what not to do. So first of all, you're going to take your little piece of sponge or a sheepskin. You're going to take it and you're going to go in circles. Now you can see how this is moving. And you want to keep it in a circle because in that way it keeps everything uniform. And you go all the way up with it. Now this coat of oil is not going to be the only coat that we're going to put on this. We're going to probably put maybe 2, in some cases 3 coats. Reason being is that this Porel thing is really dry, and so it's soaking up the oil as quickly as I can put it on. If you're gonna do this step number 2, where you're really cleaning and you're taking parts off of your saddle, I highly suggest that you make sure you've got a couple of days where you don't need your saddle. So then you're gonna go up underneath the fender with the oil the same way, get everything oiled. You can oil this part, oil this part, oil this part. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to take the oil and do this with it, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because what you're going to do is you're going to end up getting streaks. You're going to get parts that are going to be more oiled and then other parts that aren't, and it's not going to look as pretty. You want to have it uniform so that when that oil soaks in, then it soaks in evenly, okay? On the other side, I had put a coat of oil on, then I went back over it, because you'll be able to tell where it's really dry, and then you're going to need to add more oil. Okay, so I've already oiled this, and you can see where there's a little bit of oil that is kind of at the surface right here. Don't worry about that right now. You've got to let this sit for several hours so that it can penetrate. Now this part, actually this used to look like this. So you can see here where it's you can see where it's getting dry. So just let it penetrate and then go back over it and just do a once over on it with the oil until you get it all uniform. So I'm going to put I put the parts back on, put my stirrups back on, got the hobbles back on. The tugs sometimes are a little confusing. So when you envision the tug, it's going to look like that. That's what it would look like when it's on your saddle. So you're going to come in through the back side of the tug and then put it through the loop, and then you're ready to roll. These parts, as you remember, I washed these parts and they've been sitting, and I've put several coats on these parts because this Porel girl was really dry. So don't hesitate. When you see it a little bit dry, just stick a nice little coat of oil. Don't saturate it, just go over the top of it with your little sponge or your sheepskin that's already got the oil on it. You don't really necessarily need to add more, and just kind of do a little bit of a circle like that and just get it uniform. The fender here is going to need it. I can tell already that it's soaking in really fast. Don't have to be so diligent with it with the circles once you've already got a coat of oil on. Got the back cinch on. This was really dry, but this looks beautiful right now. Always remember to put your connection strap back on, because you don't want a rodeo. So once you put on your cinch, make sure you connect your back cinch to your front cinch. All right, I think that's it. She's done. This is a beautiful saddle. This is a McPherson. I think it's made in LA. And this is a very well-built saddle, and it deserves to be taken care of. The saddle strings, as I said before, I put some saddle soap on it. We talked about using just plain old ivory if you had that to wash it. But if you're going to condition this Latigo leather, you definitely want to use saddle soap. Just take it and just use the same sponge. It's got a little bit of oil on it, but not much. But it's mostly saddle soap, and you are going to see a huge difference. These saddle strings, before I started, they felt like bacon, and now they're just beautiful. All right, that's it. Happy washing.